So I've got the wastegate tube, and I just kind of threw a quick notch in it while I was at work, since I had power tools. And this is going to be kind of the tough part, since I don't have air here, and basically just going to be working with a drill. I have a carbide bit that I can use to take away material, but obviously the reason I made this whole bracket was to be able to work on this outside the car. So I'll go ahead and remove the manifold, and you can just throw this on a flat surface and we can get a better view of everything going on underneath. You can see I made a reference mark. Once I figure out the best clock, because I already made that first little notch already, once I pull this off, I can line up this reference mark to the best spot, and that way every time I slide it in and out, it goes in the same spot. So here you can see trying to use that notch that I already made. It doesn't want to spin. Might have to open up this hole just a little bit. Tube is out of round. See, we're touching there. That's where I want it to go. You can see why this is going to be a little time consuming, because you know, high-speed carbide but a low-speed drill. And I want this to be right about there. You can start to see the notch down at the bottom and where I will need to continue to notch. Let's see, where are we at? It's kind of difficult to capture. So you just have to go at it slowly. You can see there. Basically just going to continue on this little corner here that's touching. Leave that open gap alone, and then on the other corner just a little bit more. And it's going to be a long process, but I can make my little reference mark on here so that this tube keeps in the same position while I'm sliding it in and out. Alright, got the marker. Like I said, should mark that right there. So now I do want to be mindful of keeping this tube flat, perpendicular to this plate. Now I'm going to mark my high spot. I don't want to go past there with the notch. And I'll try and mark the other side as well. It's gonna suck because it's stainless. You can see it's touching down there, so we'll just have to slide this out, grind a little bit more there, a little bit more up here, and then you can start moving on to this area. So as you can see, I've got the shape pretty much nailed. Now it's just a matter of making it deeper, and the deeper we go, then we're going to start running into the tube in other areas. So I'm going to start by going back over this shape a few passes to get it to come in a little bit more, and then I can mark the center of this tube and start to radius around that. Then once that's all touching, then we'll start to touch down here. But that's obviously last right there. This is the point where I've got it now. And this is kind of where you have to slow down and start taking smaller bites at it. So you can see that corner is butted up. So obviously you need a little bit of work there. But everything's matching up pretty good all the way around. Now I'm not too worried about this corner because I still have more material to remove, so that it will fill this gap down here and down inside there, which you're not going to be able to see. So the battery died on the drill finally, but I made good progress. You can see the mark is lined up. Got pretty good fitment. Still gotta take more material out, get that leveled out with that weld, and then a little bit down there, and I just barely started to mark the lower part of this where it's going to be touching. Well, we got some charge on the camera and on the drill, so we'll see if we can make a little bit more progress on this. Here, this is the final fit up. As you can see, I'm shining my light through the tube so you can see the fit up. And obviously it's not perfect, but the next step is going to be making sure that the tube is straight with that bracket, and then marking the manifold and cutting the hole open for that tube to butt up and be welded. Here you can see that I was able to get that hole marked and cut out, ready for tack welds. So as you can see, I got the wastegate tube tacked on, and I didn't have stainless filler, so I tried to just fusion weld it, which worked up there, but down here burned through, and on the other side is burned through as well. So if this fits, I'm just gonna MIG weld it. since it already ruined the fitment. So I'm just gonna throw it back on. I had tack welded the flange on there, and then I realized that I had the wrong one since these have threaded holes. The other one that I tacked on didn't have threaded holes, so I had to break those tacks off, and I'll test fit it with this one on there. And I can also test fit like the angle that I want this to sit at, because I want it to rotate a little bit. So I'll go ahead and get the manifold put back on. So I was worried about this since I tried to tack weld the other flange on there. This one won't sit all the way flush, so if I try to push it flush like that, it hits the cylinder head on there. So I'm gonna have to pull this off and clean off that tack weld that I broke so that it can sit flat on that tube. So I'm back at the shop, second day in a row. I drove all the way over here to basically tack weld this flange on, and I got here and realized I had the wrong one again. So instead I just went ahead and MIG welded the tube on all the way around, since I knew that it was in a good location, and went back home and got this mocked up. And the tube warped from welding it, so it's held on there pretty solid right now. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a tack weld on this side, and then turn it and get like 2 more tacks on it, just so it doesn't move, because it's exactly where it needs to be. And if it moves this way, it's not a problem. That's why I'm tacking this side first. But if it moves that way, then it's a problem, because then it hits the cylinder head. So definitely not going to win me any awards, but it's fully welded. Just clean it up with the wire wheel, and hopefully it still fits. So we got the final dry fit. Got the flange welded up, and clearance is good. You can see there. That was my main spot for concern, and this is fully tightened up. No touching anywhere. I'm gonna actually just leave the wastegate open for now. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna eventually recirculate it, but I'm curious to see how it sounds with the open wastegate. So stay tuned for that. So the next step is gonna be getting the turbo mounted, and I'll be getting my fittings this week for the coolant lines and the turbo drain lines, so I can start routing those